Hello students, welcome to this tutorial on JSON, which is JavaScript for object notation. Now, what is the agenda for today's tutorial would be, we'll try and understand the basics of JSON, which is mainly used for data representation and data transfer in web technologies. So here is a list of contents which we are going to discuss today. So what is JSON? As I've already mentioned, it is JavaScript object notation. So JavaScript is taken to describe objects for data transfer purposes. And it is a very lightweight text-based open standard designed for human readable data interchange. So the keywords over here are lightweight text-based open standard so that it could be used by any browser can actually refer to this, and data interchange is another keyword which you have to remember. So who specified it, who invented it? It's Douglas Crockford, and it has been extended from JavaScript, the scripting language, and any data which goes in within a JSON file will be having a file extension with .json, and whenever the JSON file is being moved around between different entities, then its media type would be mentioned as application/JSON. So in our examples we'll be looking into all these aspects. So let's move on. What are the uses of writing JSON? Now, most of these points which are mentioned over here, it will directly or indirectly talk about data being transferred between client to server or server to client. So any of these cases. So the first use could be that JavaScript is based on applications that includes browser extensions and websites. So wherever you exclusively use JavaScript, you can extend that to make use of JSON as well. So JSON is used to serialize and transmit structured data over network connection. So we can have structured data and we can serialize that to form a binary stream and transfer it across the network connection. Taking it further, the next point says that it is the primarily used technology to transmit data between server and web applications. Okay, so all these 3 points basically talk about JSON being used as the most frequently used technology in order to do the data transfer between the server and client. Okay, and the reason why it has become more prominent these days is that it can be used with most of the modern programming languages. So here is an example as to how a JSON object looks like. So the example, as you can see over here, it's named as bits-programs, under which I am encoding the first degree as to what are the different first degrees which are there. So first one is BECS, years 4 years, name BECE 4 years, and it could go on. So basically here is an array of first degree programs in bits, and you have a degree programs within bits. Likewise, I can extend it to include all the programs which are running under bits. So basically, as you can see, we define a JSON object, okay, in the form of string value pair, or mostly it is called as name value pairs. As you can see, we have a name here followed by a value. We have a name here followed by a value. Similarly, the start of the object itself has a name here followed by the whole of this as the value within that particular object. So what we will do is we will quickly take a demo which will demonstrate JSON with JavaScript as an example. So let me start with the browser. I have the first example over here. So I am running JSON HTML, as you can see over here, json1.html. We will look into the code very soon. So it says it is a JSON with JavaScript example, university bits, campus Pilani, course C++, students PS2. So all these things could be written in HTML as well. Why make use of JSON? Okay, let's quickly see how it actually works. So as you can see over here, I have defined an object called as object1 with key value pair or name value pairs, where university is named as bits, campus is named as Pilani. So this is one particular object which is defined. If so, how do I refer to the values which are present in this? Okay, so if I want to print the university name, I will have to refer it through the object which is object1 dot university, which will refer to the value which is there as bits. So if I want to get the value of the campus, then I will have to refer it as object1 dot campus. So when I refer to object1 dot campus, its value which is supposed to be Pilani will be referred to. Similarly, if I have another object which is defined over here, course C++, students PS2. If I want to refer to C++, if I want to get the value of C++ and PS2, then my references would be object2.course and object2.students. Similarly, if I want to form a phrase out of the whole thing, then I can simply put it as object2.course. Programming course can be studied by students of who, again it could be as to whosoever it is. Okay, so here instead of changing these lines, you can make changes in this particular object, and likewise it could be referred. So this is the very first example where we have seen as to how to create a object. Okay, this is a very simple object. We'll make things complex as we go further. Okay, but here is an idea as to how do you define an object in JSON and how do you refer to these values, that is name value pairs, in our JavaScript. Okay, so going back to the presentation, next we will talk about JSON data types. So JSON supports multiple data types starting with object. So as you can see, object is an unordered set of name value pairs. When I say unordered set, it could contain numbers, it could contain strings, it could contain different types of numbers as well. Okay, it could also contain arrays. Okay, so these are all pairs which are included within braces. There is a colon between the name and value, differentiating the name from value, and the pairs are separated by commas again. So very important special characters which you need to really look into will be the curly braces, colon, commas. Okay, now here is a small example which demonstrates as to how an object looks like. So I have a name, its value is a string. I have years, which value is a number. Likewise, I can have boolean, so on and so forth. So let us look into the other data types which are present in JSON. An array is an ordered collection of values. So what is the difference between array and object? Array will have ordered collection of values, whereas object consists of unordered set of name value pairs. So the values which are included would be in square brackets and they are separated by commas. So here is a small example which is a list of all the web technologies which you might have known by now. So we have HTML, XML followed by CSS. So the other data types would be a string, a number, true, false value, null, a object or an array. So a value of any of these, okay, could be nested. So strings are basically enclosed in double quotes. Numbers, which will usually have a syntax of C, C++ or Java. Okay, so number is represented as a number, including exponential E notation. But all the numbers are represented as decimals. There is no octal or hexadecimal representation. You can even make use of white space between any pair of tokens. So this is a small list of data types which are supported by JSON. So what we will do now is we will study JSON2.html, which will demonstrate the different data types which are present and how I can make use of these data types in order to do my programming using JavaScript. So let's go back to the browser. So this is the example which you can see over here. A very simple example, of course. So here I have a list of student names. I have 3 student names to be precise. I have name, marks, and it says whether he has passed in distinction or not. Okay. So marks is 97, so it says distinction. 90 is of course distinction marks as such, but just for logic sake, I'm saying that it is not passed in distinction. Similarly, 95 it says it is passed in distinction. So probably 95 is the least from where distinction actually starts. So anything less than 95 could be considered as not distinction. But how did I get this particular output is a curiosity which is actually worth knowing. So let us look into the code part. So this is the code for the JSON2.html. So what is it I have defined? I have defined an object which has a name and a value. Okay, the name is student and the value defined over here is an array. So what is array? Array again has got nested objects listed within that particular array. So it has name followed by the value, marks which is supposed to be a number, and I have distinction which specifies it as a boolean value which is true or false. So here it is indicated whether it is a distinction or not. So what can I do with this particular array? I can make use of a for loop in order to browse through the whole array which is for student, for which I declared a variable I which goes from 0 to what? To student length. Since student's value is basically array, I would refer to that particular array as object.student.length will give me as to how many number of array elements are present, which is currently 3. Then I increment and move further. So what do I do within is I write into the HTML page using the JavaScript document.write. So I'm printing the student name, referring or getting the value by object, that is obj dot student of I. So I initially refers to 0. Next time when I come back into the loop, it will be referring as 1, then followed by 2. Dot name will get me the value of this particular first object which is there in the array, where the name value is Amit. Similarly, marks, I would get the marks value over here as 97. Then instead of merely writing it as document.write whether he has passed in distinction or not, I'm making a logic over here which says if object.student of I is dot distinction, if it is true, then it will print the message as passed in distinction, else it is going to print the message as not passed in distinction. So this is the logic which I have implemented over here, where it is going to dynamically look into the object value, okay, the name value pair, which is distinction either is equal to either true or false. So based on whether it is true or false, it is going to make a, or it is going to write a statement saying whether he has passed in distinction or not. So when I run this particular program, every time I come into the loop, this particular reference value will be looked into. The value for this returns to be either true or false. If it returns true, the first statement will be printed. If not, the second statement will be printed. So when I run this particular program, the value or the output which I get is this one is the name, marks, and is passed in distinction. So here again the name, marks, and is not passed in distinction. Again this one, it states that it is not passed in distinction. Say for example, if I change the value over here to be as false, okay, I'll save this. Then if I refresh this, I'm sorry, I'm referring to a wrong page. let me refer to the proper one. So here is the file. I'll open it for edition. See, as this one is still not changed, so I will change it over here. Then go back to my browser, refresh it. As you can see, based on the value which got reflected in my program, here it changed from passed to not passed. Okay, so similarly I can change both of it to be true, considering anything which is more than 90 is distinction. So I'll save this and I'm running this over here. So when I run this program, so it says all of them are passed in distinction. Now if you noticed, I did make a small error over here. Just in case you happen to encounter errors, how do you do so? So when I refresh this, I don't get any output at all. So what do I really do? I should look into the error part. So what I can do is, for Mozilla, I can go to developer option. In developer option, I can click on web console. Web console, it clearly would list as to what is the error which is actually present over here. So it says that there is a missing square brackets after the element list. So when I remove the error, rerun it again, so you can see that error is no more there and we actually get the whole list is correct. Okay, so let's take a break here. Once we come back, we will look into how do we pass text within the JSON, how do I create an object out of this particular text, and we are going to look into the demonstration for JSON with HTTP as well as JSON schema.